Okay. Only 18 people have joined. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead with and continue with our discussion. So what did we discuss in the last class? We discussed about the two planning algorithms. That was nothing but goal stack planning and means end analysis. Then we looked into, till then we were looking into what is called linear planning. Okay. Then we started looking into what is called non-linear planning. Non-linear planning. Yeah, we saw the difference between that. We saw a type of non-linear plan called partial order planning. Okay, partial order planning with temporal constraints, with constraint posting. I gave you an example. When driving the car, attending the phone call, and taking it to the service station, everything being developed as a partial order plan. Okay, then gave you the difference between total order plan and a partial order plan. When do we call a plan as complete plan? Then what exactly is least commitment? Least commitment strategy in partial order planning. So that was also discussed. Then I gave you an example for it, right? Okay. So in today's class, we'll start from here. Conditional planning. Okay, conditional planning. Okay, so I think I just briefed that conditional planning is all about if then else. Okay, so yeah, if condition is true, that is if then plan A else plan B. In the sense, if condition is true, execute plan A, otherwise execute plan B. Okay, okay, so this conditional planning, it is also called contingency planning. Another name for conditional planning is contingency planning. Contingency planning. Why the strength is very less today? Any reason? Can somebody tell me why the strength is very less today? Only 30 students have joined. Shaji, why is it? Any specific reason?
Don't know, ma'am.
Any new movie has released today? Only 31 in the class. I think I should take attendance and close the attendance because everybody have a notion that I take attendance at the end. So, I mean, you join late and then take the attendance and go without listening to the class. So let me finish the attendance now. Let me quickly take the attendance. Whoever is joining beyond this will not be given attendance today. Otherwise, it becomes meaningless. Me screaming in the class and I mean, everybody joining at their own sweet time telling that it's a network issue. Okay, answer it. Quickly answer your attendance. Shruti, 01.
Present, ma'am.
Ryan.
Present, ma'am.
Aditya. Aditya. Class rep should be the model for the class, no? He has not joined. Okay. Sudha Ramakrishnan. Sudha? No. Sanjay Kumar. Sanjay is also absent. Dipanshu Kumar.
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Vishal.
Present, ma'am.
Srinjay.
Present, ma'am.
Mohammad Fasil.
Yes, ma'am.
Nitish Venkatesh.
Present, ma'am.
Dilip Kumar.
Yes, ma'am.
Shruti Kaushik.
Yes, ma'am.
Nitin. Nitin R, 48. 48 is absent. Okay, 54.
Yes, ma'am.
Ankit. 55 is absent. Okay, Himanshu Kumar Maurya. Go to the chat window. Okay, Himanshu. Right. Atul. Atul. Atul is absent. Neharika. Niharika also no. Atul absent, Niharika absent. Srinidhi? 66.
Present, ma'am.
Okay,
Present.
Srinidhi is present. Fine. Sai Hemant? Sai Hemant? 92. No response. Okay. So today strictly no attendance after I taking attendance. 94.
Present, ma'am.
Darshini? 103. 106. 106 absent. 111. 111 is absent. Sai Satish. 132.
Present, ma'am.
Oh, surprisingly. 133. Jeevesh.
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Venkateshwara Reddy, 143. 143, no response. 144, Nityashri. Ramya Bharati, 145. 146, Jairam.
Present, ma'am.
145 is present. Okay. Then who's this? 136. Okay, 136 is also present. 136 is present, but 143 is absent, right? 143 is absent. 144. What about 144? 144 is present and 145 is also present. Okay. Jairam, 146.
Present, ma'am.
147, Mona.
Present, ma'am.
148.
Present, ma'am.
149, Ragul Raj.
Present, ma'am.
149 is Ragul Raj. 161, Sanjay Nambiar.
Present, ma'am.
162, Lokeshwar. 168, Kishore.
Yes, ma'am.
169, Sai Prakash.
Present,
Present,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Who's that? 169. Okay, fine. Naren.
Present, ma'am.
Arjun. Arjun, 182. No. Okay, then 185, Yogeshwaran.
Present, ma'am.
Okay, Shrija Shambhavi, 190.
Present, ma'am.
Roshendran.
Present, ma'am.
S. Shruti. S. Shruti is absent. Manikanta, 196.
Present, ma'am.
197, Deepak Venkateshwar.
Present, ma'am.
Irfan, 198. Irfan, no response. 201, Rajadure.
Present, ma'am.
238. 238, Tarun. Tarun is absent. 242. Tilak, no response. 245, Divya. 249, Gunashekar.
Present, ma'am.
Gunashekar is present. Mani Tarun, 260.
Present, ma'am.
Shaji.
Present, ma'am.
Okay, any more who just joined? You can give me your attendance right now. After that, I'm closing the attendance for today. 111 is present. Then 1 second, one by one. 060. That is Atul. Wait. Atul is also marked as present. Then
19, ma'am.
19. Okay, 19 is also marked. Then 143. 1 second. 143. Let me mark him. 143 is marked. Then who else just told me?
182, ma'am.
182. 1 second. 182 Arjun is marked present. Then 55 Ankit. Ankit is 55. That's it, right? Then 48. Nitin. Right. That's it, right? So whoever is there in the class, to the 40 students, I have given attendance. Remaining, all the 14 are being marked absent. Closing attendance. Who's this? Darshini. Okay, last person, Darshini. No more. Okay, Darshini is the last person marked as present. Fine. Right. So where are we? Right. So we were discussing about conditional planning. Okay, so I'll just give you an example for a situation which could be considered under conditional planning. Conditional planning, for example, you want to visit a person without intimating him. Okay, without intimating him. Okay, so there's uncertainty that the person could be at home or he may not be at home. Okay, you can say there is some unpredicted outcome from say, let's say, a known set. Okay, so planning is possible, but then with certain indeterminacy. Okay, because we don't know whether the person is there or not. Okay, so I mean, one simple approach as far as conditional planning is concerned, you can construct a graph or a plan with all the possible outcomes. Okay, even all the possible alternatives can also be listed out. Okay, so in this particular example, you can, I mean, consider both the outcomes. That is, in case the person is at home, you can have a meeting with him. Okay, otherwise, if the person is not at home, then you can watch a movie in the theater next to his residence or whatever, some other alternative. Okay, so that's why we can say that if it is this, then this. If the person is there at home, you go ahead and have the meeting. Otherwise, you go and watch the movie in the theater next to his residence. Okay, so this is what is conditional planning. Okay, so this is also called contingency planning. Okay, so this actually makes use of actually what we call as our and or graph. Do you remember discussing about this, an and or graph in the first unit? A graph and or graph search for planning. Okay, you can construct for a conditional planning, an and or graph can be constructed. Okay, and then again, conditional planning is something. Okay, so yeah, it is fully observable and which can occur, I mean, in a partially observable environment also. Okay, so the example which is being given out here, it is the vacuum cleaner example which is being given out here. Okay, as an example for this. So for every action, there exists a set of preconditions. Okay, so the effect is also called post condition, effect or post condition. Some textbooks give it as effects, some others give it as post conditions. So post condition of suck operation or suck action is, that is, when you are at left, clean left, or when you are at right, and when you are at right, you clean right. Okay, so a typical example for an if then condition. Okay, so that's what. So the same thing is being represented in the form of a graph. Okay, so that is it's being shown as a looping operation. For example, when you're at this particular tile, okay, so it is either you suck the dirt or you move to the left. Okay, so this is a vacuum cleaner example which is being given here. Okay, so vacuum cleaner is an example for a partially observable environment. Okay, so where you can just see what is the immediate front. You cannot see for a stretch, just like you're driving the car. Okay, so yeah, the same thing. This is how it is being represented as an and or graph. Okay, this is an example, the same thing being put as a part of the search. Okay, so yeah, how you move and how you perform the various operations, how you move and how you perform the various operations, it's being given in the form of a graph here. Okay, so that's what. So that's what is your conditional planning. Okay, then I was just mentioning about trying to go meet a person, check whether the person is available or not. Otherwise, you go check for, I mean, in case the person is not available at home, then you go watch a movie in the theater next to his residence. Okay, so I mean, then again, let's say as per your plan, you go for the movie. But then again, there is a possibility that movie ticket may be available or it may not be available. Okay, so then that state is what is called your belief state. Belief state. Yeah. Conditional planning makes use of what is called your belief state. Okay, so in a partially observable environment, the entire information may not be available. So planning becomes difficult. So in such cases, planning makes use of, your conditional planning makes use of what is called your belief state. Okay, so with the help of this belief state and your and/or graph. Okay, so this planning in the partially observable environment can take place. Okay, so but then it can be harder. Trying to solve a problem or trying to generate a planning sequence as far as a partially observable environment, or especially in a conditional planning, it is much harder. Okay, and this is also referred to as what is called your contingency planning. Okay, so that's regarding your conditional planning. So next type of planning is what is called your reactive planning. Okay, reactive planning. Conditional planning, next is reactive planning. Okay, so reactive planning is basically planning which is being made under uncertainty. Uncertainty. Okay, so this also makes use of if-then rules. But then this is depending upon the condition you are going to react. Okay, depending upon the condition you are going to react. Okay, so I think I had already mentioned, it follows a situation action rule. For example, a thermostat for a AC. Those can all be classified as coming under reactive planning, makes use of if-then rules. Okay, so when you say the if-then rules, okay, so here the rules which come under reactive planning, you call them as reactive rules. Reactive rules. Okay, reactive rules. So this reactive rules can be prioritized. They are prioritized. Okay, so a rule selection is actually based on the priority and a holding condition that will maximize the priority. Okay, so I'll just give you an example what I just mentioned, that the reactive rules or the reaction rules are being prioritized, and rule selection is based on the priority and holding condition, that something which maximizes the priority. So I'll give you an example for this. Okay, so let's say, so this reactive planning, conflict resolution, and there's also an algorithm called the REAT algorithm. Anyway, we are not going to discuss about that in detail. REAT algorithm, I'll just tell you in brief what it is to understand the concept of your reactive planning. Okay, REAT algorithm. Okay, all these are part of reactive planning. Okay, the conflict resolution strategies, whatever we have discussed in third unit. Okay, so out here you can see the rules will be displayed in the form of conditions. You can see here the rules are being displayed in the form of conditions. Okay, so all these conditions will be given to you, or it will be available in your knowledge base, or all these are in your database. Okay, so depending upon what input you receive, you have to react to it. Okay, so that means depending on the environment or on what input you receive, one of these rules will be triggered. Okay, so you have, let's say initially I start with my first rule. Okay, I start with my first rule. What is this one message? 918. Okay, Niharika will also be noted. At the end of the class, you just remind me once again. I don't want to waste my time by opening the logbook again. Niharika can remind me at the end of the class and be responsible for it.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Right. Okay, so let's look into this example. So initially I start with my first rule. Okay, so if A, then B and C. Okay, so A is in my working memory, B and C are also in my working memory. Okay, so you are performing some sort of pattern matching, let's say. Okay, so I look at B. Okay, then I'm going to trigger rule 2. Because if B, then E. Okay, similarly, in case I find C, I find C, then rule 3 has to be triggered. That is, if C, then B. Sorry, if C, then A. Okay, so it has to be triggered. Then, as I search my database, I find an exact match. Where do I find an exact match? In the case of rule number 4. Okay, that is, if B and C, then E. Okay, so I can say that the specificity of rule 4 is 2. So what do you mean by the specificity? Whereas the specificity of my rule 2 is 1, the specificity of rule 3 is also 1, whereas the specificity of rule 4 is 2. So specificity means the number of rules or conditions exactly matching. Out here you can see if B and C, that is exactly matching with my rule 1. It's exactly matching with my rule 1. So that is why I call the specificity of this particular rule is 4. Okay, so priority is given for executing rule 4. Okay, so after rule 1, I prioritize and give priority for executing rule 4. Okay, so that is what I just meant by my statement. The reaction rules are prioritized. Okay, so a rule selection is based on the priority and a holding condition that maximizes the priority. I hope you have understood right now. Okay, so in rule 4 we have B and C, two conditions, and B and C is an exact match with rule 1. Okay, so priority is given for executing rule 4. Okay, then you have E. Okay, so already I have visited rule 2 and rule 3. So you are executing rule 2, rule 3. So then you encounter E. So when you encounter E, I need to execute rule number, I need to execute rule 5. That is E means if E then G. So that's why this order 1, 4, 2, 3 and 5. So when I reach 5 G, it is goal and I stop. Okay, so that is what reactive planning is all about. Okay, so reaction rules are being prioritized. Okay, and a rule selection is based on the priority and a holding condition that maximizes the priority. Okay, so I mean here the specificity of my rule is 2, which says that the conditions are exactly matching with that of rule number 1. So that will be executed next, followed by rule 2, rule 3 and then rule 5. Okay, so that's what your reactive planning is all about. Okay, so what I just told you is a gist of what is called a REAT algorithm. Anyway, that is not as such mentioned in your syllabus, but then as a part of reactive planning, I just mentioned. Okay, so reactive planning and where this reactive planning approach is being used. Okay, so finite state machines and behavior trees, and maybe in your data structures you would have come across what is called B trees, B tree structure. So B tree structure is also used in reactive planning. So the algorithm will select the rule. The algorithm will be selecting the rule. Sometimes even no rule can be selected also. In such a case, things are dependent on the algorithm implementation for the rule selection. Okay, so that's what reactive planning is all about. Okay, fine. So next is one more person is telling. Okay, Fatima. Right. So Niharika and Fatima is being noted. End of the class, you just inform me. So next class onwards, no. When I stop attendance, I will stop anymore. After that, beyond that, attendance will not be given. Okay. So next, let's move on to the next topic. So far, we have discussed about linear planning, block world problem. Block world problem solved using goal stack planning with the help of data structure called a stack. Then means and analysis, finding the difference, reducing the difference towards the goal. Then we started discussing about NLP, not natural language processing, non-linear planning. Then a type of non-linear planning called partial order planning, where we discussed about constraint posting and what is it? What policy was it? Least commitment policy. Then we discussed about conditional planning, if then rules, then about reactive planning. Conditional planning is also called contingency planning, and reactive planning, planning under uncertainty. Okay, so in reactive planning, what you do is rather than building the plan with the help of the branches, it makes use of what is called your if then rules. Whereas in your conditional planning, we were making use of your and or graph, the branches. Okay, so that's what all these are about. So now moving on to the next important topic, or you can say the second half of the fourth unit is all about learning, machine learning, then artificial neural networks, reinforcement learning, and related concepts. Okay, so we have something out here, ML. So machine learning. Okay, so why learn machine learning here? Why do we have to learn machine learning in AI? Why do we have to learn machine learning in AI?
For classification purposes.
Classification purposes. Then, so are you aware of the fact that machine learning is a subset of AI? Machine learning is actually a subset of AI. AI is the big umbrella which encompasses everything. Then maybe we can say so, as you said, for classification, prediction, all these are the various things happening. So this is actually AI. This is ML. A subset of AI, artificial intelligence, is machine learning, and a subset of machine learning is what is called deep learning. Okay, so you have a lot of machine learning concepts coming up in Unit 4, and you will be learning about some deep learning concepts in Unit 5. Okay, so the whole thing comes under the umbrella of what is called your AI. AI is a superset which holds all of these together. Okay, so that's the reason why we are going to learn about machine learning, which is a subset of your artificial intelligence. Okay, so let's start with what basically is learning. Okay, so you are aware of this, what is learning. Okay, because AI all about intelligence, and one of the most important aspect of intelligence is learning. Okay, so when you say learning, okay, so you can see it in different ways. Okay, it might include various outcomes like adapting to a new environment or a changing environment, that is learning. Then dealing with the new scenarios and surroundings, that is also learning. Understanding new concepts, that is also learning. Or refining the skills whatever you have, that is also learning. Or you are trying to react to a particular scenario when it is reoccurring a second time in an even better manner than the previous time, so that is also learning. Okay, so all these are learning. Okay, so when you say learning, a lot of activities are actually involved in learning. Okay, so you try to understand, or understanding is a part of learning. Then memorizing. What is memorizing? In colloquial terms, can we call it as rote learning? We call it ratify, or by hearting. That is also learning. Then knowledge acquisition. Knowledge acquisition, that's also learning. Then, of course, we are all students of AI. So inferencing, we have learned about inferencing, deduction, and all those things. They're also learning. Okay, so these are all different types of learning. Okay, so or you can say these are the various activities involved in learning. Understanding, by hearting or memorizing, inferencing, knowledge acquisition, they're all parts of learning. Okay, so then an agent is learning if it improves its performance on future tasks after making observations about the world. Okay, so any component of an agent can be improved by learning from data. Okay, so when we say learning, okay, so learning is something which involves certain level of complexity. It is not that easy to learn. Okay, so let me give you an example scenario. Let's say while going to the office, or let's say to my office, college yesterday, I found that some road repair work is being carried out in one particular route. Let's say route 1. Okay, so route 1 road repair. Okay, so route 1 road repair. Let's say I go from Punamalli High Road towards Vadapalani. So let's say the Coimbatore side, there is a road repair. Okay, so I mean, I had to follow a route 2. Okay, route 2, avoiding Coimbatore. I take the, I mean, avoiding the 100 feet road through the Coimbatore. I take the route via Virugambakam or through the market, vegetable market. I take a route 2, okay, to reach Vadapalani. Okay, so that is something which I learned yesterday on my way to college. Okay, so now this was basically scenario 1. Okay, my first scenario. Okay, so now let me take a scenario 2 with the same example. Okay, so in route 1, the road repair work is still in progress. Okay, so then I mean, this is what is happening. Route 1 is still, the road repair work is still going on with the flyover construction in Coimbatore, so it's being closed. Then I used to take route 2 via Virugambakam or via vegetable market. So then there's suddenly an announcement that because of rains, huge rains are happening, so route 2 will also be closed. The route via vegetable market is also being closed. And I also wanted to visit a shop, some shop, which was, I mean, on the route to my college. And it also happens that I'm running out of petrol. Okay, so now the decision I need to make at this point of time in order to go to college is becoming much more complex in this particular scenario when compared to this scenario. Okay, because there is a lot of parameters involved, and the number of parameters are also increasing. Okay, I want to visit a shop to get my laptop repaired, then I'm running out of petrol, so my parameters are, I mean, increasing. Okay, so the time dimension will also come into picture. The number of parameters, the complexity of learning is increasing, the number of parameters are increasing, the time dimension will start taking a role as far as the decision making is concerned. Okay, of course, in this situation, I can well handle the situation because of my previous experience. I find another route via somewhere else, maybe through our Saligramam or whatever, and then I reach the college in a different route. So that is, I have learned, I did that, or I tackled this situation and reached the college based on my previous experience regarding the various routes in Chennai. Okay, so that's what I wanted to tell you. There is a complexity in learning. Okay, so the data and the information, whatever is being used for learning, is very important. Okay, so whatever data you have, as such, it cannot be used for learning because it might contain some not so useful essential information, or it could contain some outliers, noise. That's what in data mining terminology we say, that the real world data is noisy data. It will contain outliers. Okay, so then generally what happens is, you call it as frequent patterns. Most frequent patterns are used for learning. Okay, then learning can be based on exceptions also. And it can be based on similarities and it can be based on differences. Okay, so both the positive and the negative examples, all these things can help in effective learning. Okay, so various models are also being built for learning. Okay, so everything is being built with the objective of exploiting the knowledge. So what I want to summarize is, learning is not a one-step process. It's a complex process and it is a continuous process. Learning is a continuous process. Okay, so improvements and techniques which is used to make them depend on 4 major factors. Okay, which component has to be improved, what prior knowledge the agent already has, what representation is used for the data and the component, and what feedback is available to learn from and to improve upon. Okay, so these are the 4 components. Okay, so now coming to the platform, machine learning, a subset of AI. Okay, so how can machines be made to learn? Okay, so this was a research that was basically chased for decades, and outcome of that particular research is this platform called ML or machine learning. Okay, so this is the standard textbook definition given by a pioneer in the field of machine learning called Tom Mitchell. The definition what is being given for your machine learning. Okay, so let me put it in simple words. Okay, so machine learning is all about building and exploring the various methods for programming the computers to make them learn. Okay, so that's what is machine learning all about. Okay, as far as human beings are concerned, we take decisions based on our past experience. Okay, so the same thing actually should be inculcated into your machines. Okay, so the machines, they need to be intelligent to carry out the task. Okay, so when you say a task, it could be a task in any domain. It could be a task in the automation industry, or it could be some task based on some scenarios, or it could be something which requires a very high degree of accuracy. Okay, so then again, so one of the most important characteristic of intelligence, you can call it as the ability to forecast or predict. Okay, so yeah, for example, you assume that the machine, it has to predict whether the customer will buy a specific product, let's say antivirus, in this particular year or not. Okay, so what will the machine do? The machine will do it by looking at the past experience or previous knowledge. Okay, so that is basically the data of the various products that the customer has bought every year. And in case he has bought an antivirus every year, then there is high probability that the customer is going to buy the antivirus software this year too. Okay, so this is how actually machine learning works at the most basic conceptual level. Okay, so yeah, looking into the formal definition, a computer program is said to learn from experience E with respect to some class of task T and performance measure P if its performance at task in T as measured by P improves with experience E. Okay, so that's what I have explained as of now. Okay, so then, yeah, this is what I had drawn first. I had shown this here. I have drawn this here. Okay, so why ML coming into AI? Okay, so ML is a big umbrella which encompasses your ML. Sorry, AI is a big umbrella which encompasses your ML and DL. Okay, DL is a subset of ML. ML is a subset of AI. Okay, so now coming to the goals of machine learning. Coming to the goals of machine learning. Okay, so if you say the goal of machine learning, there are so many things put out here. You can just read through it. Okay, so I can just tell that the primary goal is to produce some learning algorithm with some practical value. Okay, or even you can say that the goal of ML is to facilitate building some sort of intelligent systems, okay, that can be used to solve some complex problem, or put it in better words, to solve some real life problems. Okay, so you can see here, to make the computer smarter, more intelligent, goal of ML, to develop computational learning process models and computers which can perform computer simulations, all about cognitive modeling. Okay, to learn new learning methods, develop general learning algorithms independent of applications. That's what I just told you. To produce some learning algorithm with some practical value. Okay, or build some intelligent systems that can be used for real life problem solving. Because machine learning is a buzzword in today's smart world. And it's something which is growing very rapidly on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so we are all using machine learning in our daily life, even without using it. We are using our Google Map, your Google Assistant, your Alexa giving you instruction and making Alexa do various instructions. All these come under the purview of what is called your machine learning. Okay, so that's regarding the goal of machine learning. Okay, so next, coming to, are people listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, only one person is listening. Remaining 38. Atul listening? Atul? Atul is just connected and gone for breakfast. What about Balaram?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ah, okay, Balaram is listening. Atul, yes, ma'am. Okay, so you heard me calling out for you. Okay, what about Deepak? Deepakar.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Listening, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How many of you didn't have breakfast?
Yes, ma'am. I have.
You had, huh? Okay.
No, I didn't
Manitaru,
have.
you didn't have breakfast. Why? Only if you have breakfast, you will feel like listening in the class. Before your first hour class, you should have a power breakfast and then sit for the class. Okay, let's come back. Okay, what did we discuss? Okay, goal of machine learning we discussed. Now coming to the challenges of machine learning. Challenges of machine learning. The difference or the difficulties. Okay, so yeah, in simple words, you can say learning. The major aspect is selecting of the data to learn. Okay, I said you cannot, all the information available for learning cannot be used as such. Okay, I just mentioned could contain irrelevant data, noisy data, outliers, and so many different things captured from a completely different perspectives. So every bit of data cannot be used as such with the same importance or with the same priority. Okay, so prioritization of data is important. Data cleaning is important. All those things come under the purview of what is called a data mining. Data cleaning techniques are there. Okay. Somebody trying to unmute. Can you mute your microphone, please? Who's that? Please mute your microphone. Whoever, Jairam, please mute your microphone. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I just told that data cleaning techniques are there. Okay. Data is coming from heterogeneous sources. Then prioritization of data needs to be done based on various scenarios, based on the significance, based on relevance. Okay. Determining the relevance of data is actually one of the most important or difficult part as far as machine learning is concerned. Okay. Then again, there are so many other challenges in making the machines learn and take suitable decisions at the right time. Okay, and when you say challenges, it starts straight away from the availability of limited learning data, that too from unknown perspectives. Okay, so yeah, for example, if you, these are the various dimensions in which it has to be looked into: your speed, your ability to transfer, whether it requires repetition, error prone, noise tolerant, everything is being compared with respect to a human learning and a machine learning. Okay, so getting accurate, compact, and precise knowledge, and it's a very difficult process and a complex process. Okay, and all these things will add up to the complexities. Okay, so next coming to the, okay, this I think it's given in one more slide. Let's, we have it here. Okay, so I'll ignore the slide, right? Okay, so now coming to the concepts. This is what we have discussed right now. We discussed about conditional planning, reactive planning, learning, machine learning, goals, challenges of machine learning. Now coming into a little more into the concepts. Okay, so first, these are the various learning concepts. That's what we are going to start now, the learning concepts. Okay, so learning concepts, machine learning categorized into what is called supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and reinforcement learning. Okay, so many of you would have done some courses, some short-term courses on machine learning or AI, would have already learnt about it. Okay, so but let's learn it as a part of the subject called AI. Okay, so first let's start with what is called your supervised learning. Okay, so it's written here, involves learning a function that maps an input to an output based on example input output pairs. Okay, so this supervised learning is in fact the most commonly used learning method. So generally when you say supervised, supervisor, so it's been basically being compared with a learning which takes place in the presence of a supervisor or a teacher. Okay, so the teacher, whoever it is, he or she will be in a position to tell us what is correct and what is wrong. Okay, so as far as supervised learning is concerned, target will be specified along with the input attributes. Okay, so the most basic fundamental example when we try to explain machine learning is the this example, what is being displayed out here. Okay, so already I mean you can see here the fruits are being kept in a plate. Okay, so you have already classified this to be an apple, this to be a banana, and this to be a what is it, green apple. Okay, green apple. Okay, so you have already classified and kept these three things. Okay, so after classification, anymore if you show the system an image of an apple, it will say that it is an apple, it is a red apple. Okay, so already computer has been trained to detect object of this sort to be a red apple. Okay, so if the shape of the object is rounded, depression at the top having color red, then it is being labeled as apple. Color green and the remaining is same, it's green apple. Shape, shape, color, yeah, shape is long, curving cylinder having color green, yellow, labeled as banana. Okay, so the computer has been trained to detect all these objects, then it will definitely do that. So this is the most basic type of concept underlying the supervised learning. Okay, so let's go a little bit beyond that. Okay, there are basically two types of supervised learning. Somebody told, I think when I asked why learn machine learning, I think it was Ryan, right, who gave an answer. He told it's for classification. Okay, so there are basically two types of supervised learning problems. One is what is called classification, and second one is what is called regression. Okay, so classification is all about predicting a class label, you can say, and regression is all about predicting some sort of numerical values. Numerical, I'll give you examples. Numerical values. Okay, so this is all about learning problems that involves predicting a class label, a categorical class label, you can say, a categorical. This is numerical, this is categorical. Okay, so yeah, here the output will be a numeric value, here the output will be a categorical variable. That's the most appropriate terminology, categorical variable. Okay, so both these classification and regression problem, they may have one or more input variables, and input variables may be of any data type, like your numerical or categorical. Okay, and again there are some machine learning algorithms that are being described as supervised machine learning algorithms because they are designed for supervised machine learning problems as such. Okay, for example, decision trees, support vector machines, etc. Okay, so example for a classification problem is given here. Okay, a classification problem is when the output variable is a category such as red or blue or disease or no disease. Okay, so that's a classification problem. Then regression is when the output variable is a real value, that is numbers, dollars or weight. I think I'm running out of time. I can see people leaving. Okay, which is an indication that time is up. Okay, so let's stop for the day. We'll continue in the next class. Okay, I hope all of you were listening to it and it was quite interesting too. That's what I felt. I don't know how you felt. Okay, so thank you. Ragul, the recording will be stored in your drive. Please share it. 149.